Okay, how are you, Jason?
I'm doing well. How are you, Bilal?
Good, good. Thank you for calling in. I guess I should tell you more about the documentary. It's about Nickelodeon Studios and whatnot, and your time being
Okay.
there, and your time being there, of course.
Right.
Yes. So I guess let's get started. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from New York.
New York. That's where I'm from, actually.
Oh, okay. Where in New York are you?
I was raised in, well, born in Long Island, but raised in Queens, actually.
Oh, okay. So you're a Mets fan?
Yes.
Well, the Mets might have a better season than the Yankees this year. So, uh, like, although I think both teams are going to stink.
Wow.
So, but at least the Mets have young players. I'm a little excited to see some new players. I'm a pretty big baseball fan.
Yeah, don't forget the Giants too.
The football. Yes,
Yeah.
right. Although they were disappointing this year too.
Oh,
I don't know if you know, I was when I was in school, I was a vendor. I used to work at Shea Yankee Stadium.
oh, really? How much fun was that?
That was a lot of fun. That's a great job for high school. I mean, it's a sad job if you're like 40 and still doing it, but not to insult anybody who does that. I apologize if anyone listening does that. But but when you're 15 or 16, it's a lot of fun. I went to every. I was at the Mets World Series in '86. I went to like lots of big concerts. Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, David Bowie. I went to the Giants playoff games at Giant Stadium. I worked at Giant Stadium, Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium, and I even worked at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. Did you get all the free passes to all the performances and all the games?
Oh, no, I didn't get, no, of course, no, they didn't give me free anything, but but I would go to this, as part of my job,
Mhm.
I'd be there. Yeah, so it was always fun. I got to go to every big event. I mean, I was working, but I was just excited to be there.
Yeah, of course, definitely. so,
Yeah.
so let's get this started. Before
Sure.
I'm gonna talk to you about Nick Studios, but before that, let's go back to when you were very young. Did you know you always wanted to be in showbiz?
No, actually, I was as a kid, I thought I wanted to be a doctor,
Oh.
and I went to Stuyvesant High School here in the city,
Mhm.
the science and math school, and then I went to Johns Hopkins University, and I was pre-med. And I started acting as a hobby. It was kind of a side thing. I did it for fun.
Mhm.
And as I was in college, I realized that I liked the acting a lot more than I liked the studying organic chemistry. And so I slowly, over the 4 years of school, my shift changed completely
Mhm.
from being a really good student at Hopkins to being a disastrous student at Hopkins, but doing really neat shows, all over Washington D.C. and Baltimore and Virginia, and I would do plays all over the place, and then I would do I did what they call industrial films, like little films for companies and
Yeah, I know those.
local commercials, and I did all kinds of stuff while I was in school, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I just knew that that's something in that direction is where I wanted to go. My parents were horrified.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. A lot of years being put into doctor and med school, and yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah.
years. So I can
Well, at least
understand
I
why you
didn't
want
go.
to.
Had I gone all the way through med school, I think my parents would have hunted me down and killed me. But
Mhm.
at least I made the decision early on. But I did finish. I finished. I graduated from Hopkins. I ended up with a degree in economics and a minor in writing. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's so cool. So what was your first acting job? You remember?
Oh gosh, my first acting wasn't a job. It was just school stuff. The first thing I ever did was I did a scene from The Odd Couple in in high school, my senior year of high school, and I took the class because I was very shy, and my friend said, you're so funny, and you should really take a class and try to, get better at public speaking, and et cetera, et cetera. And so my friend was very much Felix in The Odd Couple. I don't know if you've ever seen The Odd Couple.
No.
Have you ever?
No, I haven't.
Well, The Odd Couple it's a Neil Simon play, and it was a movie, and then it was a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Oscar, who's kind of a big, loud slob, and Felix, who's kind of the nerdy button-up. But with my friend, I was more Oscar. I was the big, fat slob compared to him. So we did this for my class, and it surprisingly went really, really well. And my acting teacher in high school was all excited about it and started pushing me, and I met an acting teacher in New York named William Hickey, who he's passed away now. He was incredibly old then, so he was, and he would always go, "You're very funny. You're very funny.
You're very funny." I've heard.
You're funny. You're funny. You're funny. Yeah, he was old. Like I said, he was like 100 then. And then in college, I just kept doing it, and I'm trying to think what my first paid gig. I did some of the Neil Simon plays like Broadway Bound, Brighton Beach Memoirs, in little theaters around Washington, and I got my SAG card, my union card, doing films for the Navy, where I was the soldier who was a really lousy soldier. They were training films for the Navy, and I was the guy that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Basically, which was interesting that, because I figured I would never be good in the military, so, this confirmed it when the military hired me to play somebody who really should never be in the military. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I shouldn't be.
Not for you, huh?
The military? No, I don't think I would, no.
But that's a huge accomplishment to have a SAG card. I think every actor has to have one.
Well, yeah, I was very excited. I remember it was very exciting to go from being, it kind of gave you, it was exciting to get that, what's the word I'm looking for, the acknowledgement that, hey, you're a professional now. I was excited.
Yeah.
And then I got my theater card, the union card, Actors Equity, soon after that. And at the time, now the unions are merged, but at the time I got my AFTRA, which is the Federation of TV Radio
I've heard that.
Bouncers. I got that card around that time. So yeah, I got into all the unions, and I was working a decent amount in school, which was exciting.
All right. Now, is it true that you work for the Big Help-a-thon on Nickelodeon?
I did do, that was one of my first jobs for Nickelodeon was, I don't even know if they still do it, but they would do the Big Help every year. And the year I did it, I got hired to drive across the country and stop at all these cities and do these little sections, and they ran them. So I was they used my name. It was Racing Jason.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where we went. It's such a blur because we went all across the country in a week in a big one of those big buses.
Yeah.
And Summer Sanders was also doing it. So
figure it out.
So Summer Sanders, she wasn't with me, but when they cut them together, Summer Sanders was kind of like mission control, and then she would toss it out to Racing Jason, who's in Chicago now, helping, grow trees or something. I don't remember. We had a lot of different things that we did, cleaning up parts, adopting pets, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I was exhausted.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It sounds like a city life and artist tours. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I mean, we did, since we literally would go drive through the night, and I would sleep in a little cubicle, in this bus. You basically, which was it was a little creepy. and you took showers in the bus, or sometimes we'd go into a hotel. But by the time we got all the way cross country, we were all kind of gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, we went from the West Coast and we ended up in Boston, and then when we finished in Boston, everybody was a little kind of, like I could see myself deteriorate on camera every single day. Like every day I go, wow, I'm looking a little uglier, oh my, I'm hideous now. Yeah. But again, I had never experienced anything like that before, so for me it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Did you get to do anything adult activities there, or do you have to be like a kid the whole time? Like go to.
No, I wasn't a kid. I mean, I was. I mean, essentially, what we would do is just drive to the next location, and then we would set up. They would have whatever activity was going on. Like I think it was in Amarillo. They were planting seeds to grow. Right. So I mean, and so I would just kind of take part in it, and we would. A lot of the stuff. I mean, it was a really brief. On TV it was like a minute long. So they wanted to. So a lot of it was scripted, or I mean, I got to play around a little bit and be fun with the kids who were doing these things and kind of have a little bit of fun with them. But it was very much produced because they wanted to make sure they got all their points out in 1 minute. So it wasn't. I didn't have a lot of room to. I mean, other than to do a couple of silly things at the very beginning and the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, but again, for me, it was just a neat experience. Essentially that was probably the first time I ever hosted anything. That was like I mean, I wasn't a hosting job per se, but it was kind of the first time I was talking to camera, being the host. That was probably the first job.
Yeah, and that eventually led to you hosting Double Dare 2000, right?
It did. I had another job in between. I had a job on a local New York channel, so maybe you know it since you're from here, called the Metro Channel. Did you ever watch the Metro Channel?
The only ones I know are Eyewitness News and NBC. That's all.
Oh no! Well, there was a channel in New York. It started in Long Island, and then it ran all over New York, called the Metro Channel.
Oh.
And it's out of business now.
It sounds like it.
And there was a show called School's Out, and I hosted a live 90-minute show for teenagers. You were probably too young when I was doing it, but and it would focus on science and history, but it was kind of like an education / silly show. We would have fun, but it was also like an education show.
Oh,
and that was it was live. So I was all of a sudden I was doing live TV 90 minutes a day, which was
pretty hectic.
What?
Pretty hectic, I must say, right?
Yeah, but again, really fun. I mean, it was just like. It's kind of fun, like when you get these new experiences that you've just never done before. I mean, that's kind of what drew me to all of this, to this business.
Yeah.
As my call waiting goes while I'm talking to you, it's what drew me to the business is the fact that I could do something completely different, every time out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I did that for about a year and a half, and then around that time is when Double Dare started testing me for the show.
Yes, and that's what made everyone notice you was Double Dare 2000. Did you watch it before? Did you know the original version before you got hosted?
You know what? I was not. I never really watched Nickelodeon. I think I kind of fell into this weird category of being a little bit older. So I didn't really watch it until oddly enough, I had never seen an episode of Double Dare. I didn't even know the first time I auditioned. I didn't even know that it was a remake of a show.
Oh.
I thought it was a new show. I actually had no idea that they were bringing back a show. It was my younger brother. My younger brothers told me, they were like, Jay, that's big. They were like, Double Dare was huge, Jay. Oh my, you do audition for Double Dare, that's huge.
Oh,
So if you can't tell, my brothers are from New York too. Okay.
Oh, definitely, of course. But
You can't tell from the voice, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, my brother talks like this. Jay, that's amazing.
yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So when you got to host the show and you got to be at Nick Studios, how much fun was Nick Studios of being around everybody and the cast and crew for everybody who worked at the studio?
For me, I loved it because one, I'm a little bit of a theme park junkie. I love going on rides and things. I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to do that, unfortunately, but I am I know Marc Summers is not and hates any theme park. Yeah, but I love them. So I just was so excited to actually be working in a theme park. I mean, the show schedule was hectic. We would do like 4 or 5 shows in a day, and they tried to make the stunts bigger, and they tried to do all these things to make the show bigger, which I don't think helped the show. I think it kind of made the show. It took away the charm of the old show. Again, I only ended up seeing the old show after we started doing the new show. So I do think that was a problem. I think the simplicity of the old Double Dare show that that Marc Summers did so successfully, I think was part of its charm, and then trying to turn it into these big elaborate stunts that usually didn't work so well anyway, maybe wasn't the greatest move. But for me, again, I mean, the show only lasted for a short time. It probably wasn't a huge success. I mean, there are some people who really love it, and that's great. And I still get approached by people about it, which is funny. Years later, because they're all adults now. So it was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But for me, again, I have to say it was such a trip to be doing this and have the screaming kids and the slopstickle course and just to be on your feet, spontaneous, trying to keep up with all the bedlam was exhausting, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember any behind-the-scenes stuff that happened at the studios with kids and the families? Were there any
I gotta tell you, what's strange about that now is that it's funny because I'll still have people contact me like you did on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm my name on Twitter. I'm at Jason Harris, so I'm there. And most people don't know, and so I don't. So it's funny. I slowly get followers, but. But yes, people will say, "Oh, hey, do you remember I was so and so?" And it was so crazy. It was so busy, and I was so focused to try to remember the rules of the game. I mean, all the games that we had to do, they would come up with these stunts, and I had to remember so that I could describe them.
Yeah.
I had to describe them very smoothly and quickly. And you may think that sounds easy, but if somebody tells you, okay, so what they have to do is, the ball's going to go up, and they have to catch it in their head, and they have to put it in here, and they got to get 4 balls in 30 seconds, and they got to go over here, and they got to pick this up, and they got to move that there, and they got to go climb up on this board here, and they got to pop the balloons, and they got, and they're explaining it to me, and I'm like, wow.
No. Was it hard to remember all of that every day?
That's it, yeah. I was like, wait a minute, so I was so focused on that, between shows and backstage, I could, it's all a blur. I barely remember anything. I just remember trying to remember what the game was, which, the stunts were. And then, of course, the other challenge for me, I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
And you had, so I ended up, very quickly, I ended up calling all the adults just mom and dad because I couldn't remember their names. And I think once or twice, if you watch all the shows, you'll see me get the kid's name wrong and have them correct me, and that's embarrassing.
Oh, I gotta rewatch that then.
Yeah, I don't know what episode, but I remember one specifically where I think that guy said, "Okay, Mary, my name isn't Mary, it's Michelle." Okay. Sorry, Michelle. And I just kept going. But I'm terrible. That's my whole life. I've been terrible with names. I mean, that's just I've never been good at it.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was going to go back to Universal. Did you have a favorite ride at Universal Studios?
Did I ever what?
Did you have a favorite ride? You know, like attractions?
Gosh, I can't remember now. I mean, the Mummy, was that in Orlando or was that California though? I don't know. I love that Mummy, and then they had a Spider-Man thing or something that was pretty cool.
Oh, the Spider-Man is really cool. I haven't been back in like 8 years though.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot. I mean, I haven't either, so it's been forever. But the Mummy might have been L.A., and then Spider-Man might have been the one where you're like dangling off. It's like a roller coaster, but it's part virtual reality, part coaster. I get a kick out of. I mean,
the thrill.
I've always liked. Yeah, I kind of love going to theme parks. So I mean, I still like. I don't go as often, you know, and you get busy with stuff, but I really kind of. I'm always excited to. I mean, one of the things I remember when Double Dare was right in the middle of being very popular. I went with my friend to Great Adventure, you know, here in New York, in New Jersey, and I was just like, we would just get mobbed by kids everywhere we went. I was like, we couldn't get on any rides. It was like running all the time.
Yeah.
So everywhere I went in Great Adventure, kids would be like, "That's the Double Dare guy," and that was pretty funny. So it was like being famous. I was famous for like 6 months.
But you know, there's a small group of fans, so that's really nice for the show.
Yeah, it is. It's actually fun. People still, like I said, the most I hear about it is really, you know, people write something on Twitter and I see it, and then I end up having little conversations with people on Twitter, which is fun. Yeah.
Did you like living and working in Orlando, Florida? What was one of the good things about it, or did you have not?
Well, I wasn't in Orlando that much. You know, it's so funny because I loved it when we went in the winter because I got out of New York in the winter. So the first, we did like 40-something episodes in one particular January, and it was a horrible winter in New York. That's all I remember. Because my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was complaining nonstop, always complaining about how horrible it was in New York, and it was like 75 degrees in Orlando. You know, but again, they kept me so busy that for the most part I would record the shows, and then I would come back to they put me in a little apartment, and I would crash and pass out, and then go back to the studio and record again.
Yeah,
and
over and over.
That was my life. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get a chance to do all that much.
Oh, okay.
And when we recorded in the summer, it was so hot. I just remember how hot it was that I was grateful to be inside an air-conditioned studio. I was like, oh, I know, I never want to go outside.
Yeah, the Florida heat is intense. It's like 90 to 100 degrees. It's brutal. It's awful. It's just terrible. I mean, I think everybody who lives in Orlando should leave in like around June and not come back until maybe October. Yeah,
I think they should just empty the city. Yeah.
But do you remember any other shows being filmed at the studios where you were at the time?
There were shows because some of them would appear on they'd come on and be guests. But I don't remember much about them. There was a show called No One Knows Best, which I have no idea what happened to that show. There was a show called Taina.
We remember that.
I don't remember any. I mean, I don't even remember. It's amazing that I even remember the names of these shows because I don't remember who was.
Yeah.
I know Amanda Bynes, who is all over the news now because I guess she's having whatever is going on with her life. She was a kid and she was on the show with her the Amanda Bynes show or whatever it was called at the time. All that, or I don't know. And then that show with the dog.
Oh,
do you remember that show? The talking dog.
Oh, 100 Deeds of Eddie McDowell.
Yeah. Oh, look, see, you know better than I do.
Yeah.
I just remember being excited about that because the guy who played Bull on the old show Night Court that I used to watch when I was a kid, he was on that show. The big, tall guy. His name is Richard Mall.
Yeah.
And I've known Richard Mall. I would bump into him occasionally doing voiceovers in Los Angeles because I do obviously a lot of my living now is I do voiceovers for TV, for movies, for cartoons, for commercials. So Richard Mall I've seen several times, and he came on the show, and it was one of the memories on the Double Dare was him taking a massive fall. He tripped or slipped on the slime, and he went down in a heap, bam, hit his head, and they made me wear this earpiece, which I never liked. I like to kind of control my own things. That the producer would have me. They liked to talk in my ear like I was a newscaster. So when he fell, all I had is someone screaming in my ear, "Just keep going, just keep going. We'll cut around it. Just keep going." And I'm like, I think Richard Mall might be dead.
Oh,
so
wow.
we might want to stop. No, I'm kidding. I mean, he wasn't dead. And he got up. He was fine. But I mean, it was, he took quite a fall, and I had to ignore it, which I thought was very strange. But
you wanted to laugh.
Well, I wanted to at least respond to the fact that a guy who's 8 feet tall just took a slam dive.
Yeah. It's interesting that you brought up those shows because I was just about to ask you the episode where Taina and the cast of No One Knows Best, they faced off against an episode, and at the end of the obstacle course, there was like a huge food fight, and they all slimed, and you got slimed in the pies, and you all were throwing pies left and right. It's on YouTube, actually. So that was.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, what happened with that? That was funny. That this was the rule, and this is again, I think, where Marc Summers and I were absolute, maybe polar opposites in what we liked.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I wanted to get in there in the muck with everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And they wanted to keep me out of the muck because I had to shoot 4 episodes, so they couldn't have me running to take a shower, at 17 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So they would only allow me, literally they would prevent me from doing it unless it was either the last show before lunch or the last show at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The end of the day was the one where I would really just get to go crazy. And so I think that must have been one of those end of the day shows where I could literally jump into the stuff, start throwing it around myself,
Yeah.
So I always looked forward to that one because it was kind of like you got to let loose.
Yeah, so that is why you got involved in the food fight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, And then there was the one with the wrestlers where they threw me into that big dude. I don't even remember what his name was.
Oh, my gosh. I think I saw a clip of it on YouTube. He looked intimidated. I thought you were intimidated.
Yeah, I don't even know who he is. I don't remember. I don't know if is he famous or what, but he picked me up. And that wasn't, they actually picked me up and threw me into the thing. That was actually a little scary. But it was always fun, and you never knew. I mean, it was a little bit of irreverence. You try to have a little bit of silly, irreverent fun while doing it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the show needed more of that, and less of the big stunts. But that's again. I mean, I was at that point also just happy to be there.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. You can appreciate it though.
What's
But
that?
you can learn to appreciate things, so that's really good.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I'll admit I was tired. I mean, it was. You could hear it in my voice. It's kind of funny. I mean, depending on what show, what time of day, you could hear all of a sudden up like this. Hey, welcome to Double Dare 2000, the show. Blah, blah. I mean, it's like you could hear me all hoarse because I've been screaming for 3 shows, so or 4. But again, I was a lot of this for me was learning on the job, including that. I had never hosted a game show before.
Yeah.
That was the only time I've done it. So for me, it was like, and actually it was interesting when I would watch it. I'd be like, oh, I don't need to scream because even though the camera is 700 million feet away from me, the shot makes it look like I'm really close. And nobody told me these things. I had to learn them on my own. That I could actually just talk naturally, even though I might not be able to hear myself.
Yeah.
And I learned. When I watch them, if I see a little clip here and there, some are better than others. I watch it and go, oh, okay, I'm confident and I'm doing well. And then I'll watch some and go, oh, that was early. That was when I was screaming.
Yeah.
You know? I wish we had done more. So there'd be a lot. I mean, it would have been nice to have done it for a few years.
Yeah, I think we need more kids game shows these days. There's definitely a lack of them these days. We need.
Well, you know, I mean, it's all about, you know, unfortunately, we live in a world, very much a corporate world, and it's about how to make the most money with as little cost as possible. And I think that was Double Dare, I think, was ultimately the victim of that. Around the time that I was doing it is when CBS and Viacom merged and became one giant company.
Yeah.
And it was very soon after that Nickelodeon became mostly animation.
Yeah.
And animation is much more profitable. They can have the animation done very cheaply in other countries. They pay the voice actors, of which I'm one of them, so I like doing those jobs. And then they can sell merchandise like crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, for every episode of Double Dare, I mean, that's all fine and good, but they could show one episode of SpongeBob and sell 1 million different SpongeBob items. They didn't really have the same success selling, you know, you didn't have a character that you could just sell to kids. I mean, it was just, and so I think, unfortunately, that affects, you know, that affects programming to such a degree that you just don't have the same diversity anymore.
No, you don't. And sadly, that led to the downfall of Nick Studios.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but I'm one of those people. Do people ever mistake you as Ben Savage from Boy Meets World?
Yes, all the time. It's actually strange. When I was doing the show on Metro Channel, which was live, the show that I hosted live, I think probably I did it for a year and a half. There must have been 10 or 15 calls that came in and said, "Are you Corey?" And I'd be like, "Who? Corey?"
Corey Matthews.
Yeah, I was like, what are they talking about? In the beginning, I was like, because I did not watch Boy Meets World.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, no, my name is Jason, not Corey. And then someone told me, well, that's the character of Boy Meets World, and you look a lot like him. So I started to have to, you know, I had to explain that I'm not. People still think that I wish I were one of the Savages. They did very well.
Mm-hmm.
Fred Savage, Ben Savage, and I don't know what are you doing now, but I mean, if they'd like to take me in, you know, as a distant cousin, I'll take it. Yeah,
you might as well.
I mean, I'm happy to be out. You know, I'm happy to go to the family parties and stuff like that.
Of course, I used to think
nice run.
I used to think that you. Wait a minute, that's Corey Matthews. He's hosting Double Dare 2000. What's going on? What is this? I used to think.
Yeah. I don't know if I look like I don't know. I sort of look the same. I think now. I don't know. I don't really get. I mean, you know, I occasionally put on a little bit of weight. I lose weight. I put on weight. I lose it. My hair is the same. Mm-hmm. I look the same. People still think I'm. You know, they think I'm 10.
Oh. But
I guess that's good. I mean, it's good. I don't age too much, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. But going back to the studios, let's talk about other stuff that happened. Do you remember when the studio tour, when fans they would get a tour of the set? Do you remember that?
Yep. Well, I'd see them up on they'd be way in the back, kind of walking on a walkway. Mm-hmm. So there was a studio audience, and then above that was the tour. And sometimes when I was getting makeup done, they would walk through like a weird little tunnel that was just outside the makeup room. Yeah. And I don't know if they were anywhere else. I didn't see them anywhere else. But, and, you know, it's funny. Sometimes you could have some fun with them, sort of. But, you know, the other part was we had a job to do. And in the actual studio, they were so far away that it was like you couldn't really interact with them. And occasionally I remember having some silly interactions with them when I was getting makeup done. But usually that would just annoy the makeup person.
Oh.
So I'd have to stop and, you know, sit quietly.
And don't forget the GAC kitchen as well. The GAC kitchen, you remember that? where the slime
Oh,
is made?
sort of, but I wasn't really in there much. I mean, that wasn't, I mean, I remember that, but I wasn't, there were a lot of places, like I had my little places where I'd be. I'd be on set, I'd be in my tiny little dressing room, I'd be in the makeup room, and I remember just the hallways connecting everything, these massive hallways. It was quite, it was a very mixed studio. It was huge.
Yes, it was.
Huge sound stages.
Yes, I've been there. I went there when I was little, so I remember.
Yeah, it's huge, and I remember walking around on the No One Knows Best set, which was pretty elaborate, and we even shot some promos, I think, on the set. So we would go, and it was. It was a nice facility. I don't really know what happened or why they closed it, other than the fact that they really just were not supporting live programming so much anymore. They sort of turned themselves into an animation network. That was the decision to be more profitable.
Yeah.
But then if they did that, they didn't really need to have that big soundstage. They just didn't need it anymore.
Yeah, it's a modern TV world now. It's a different time now, but I think it needs to be come back because I think kids deserve the opportunity to get slimed and being athletic and getting to see all the favorite TV shows.
Well, I mean, now I don't really know the answer to it. They've closed it. They've torn it down entirely. There's nothing there now.
Yeah, there isn't.
So So when you go to Universal Studios in Orlando, there's just what, like I know someone told me there's an original Double Dare thing, like you can
the
go
next hotel not far from there.
The hotel, right? But isn't there something on Universal that is there a Nickelodeon anything on Universal?
I think it's a SpongeBob SquarePants store. I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like I said, I haven't been to Orlando. I don't think I've been to Orlando since I did Double Dare.
Yeah.
It's been that long. It's been 13 years since I've been down there.
Yeah. So you got slimed, right?
Oh yeah, many times.
Describe the feeling of it.
Starting with when I did Big Elf. They slimed me. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like to get slimed?
What's it like to get slimed? It's it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's thick. It dries on your skin pretty quickly, and you want to eat it, but you can't.
Oh.
Because it's old, so if you eat it, you probably get sick.
Yeah.
But it smells good. It's like, as long as it hasn't been sitting around too long, it smells good. It smells like vanilla pudding.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like
I mean, I love pudding, and I prefer chocolate pudding, so if they were going to dump chocolate pudding on me, forget it. I would have just been eating it.
Yeah.
That would have been a problem. But since it was vanilla pudding with applesauce and whatever else makes up slime, basically what happened is it would ooze all over you, and then it would stick, and you'd have to go wash it off. It spent a long time trying to get it out.
Yeah, Dave Aza, he told me that in an interview, though. You
interviewed Dave Aza?
Yeah, a Q&A, though, but it's not on YouTube. It's like a Q&A email.
Oh, I wish I knew what is Dave Aza doing now.
I think
we were friends in L.A. too. Yeah,
I think he's a news reporter for South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, actually.
He was, but then that job ended, and he was doing something else, and I don't know what he's doing now. But well, if Dave Aza is watching this on YouTube, not that he will, if he does, and he makes it to whatever point in the interview this is, which we've been talking forever. So if he gets to this point, contact me.
All right.
It would be nice to hear from.
Yeah, but you are doing pretty well these days. Last year you were in the movie Top Cat, right?
Well, Top Cat that's a movie that came out. It's only like I said, I do a lot of voiceover and stuff, and I do all kinds of jobs now a lot of them, some of them are fun and interesting, and some of them are probably less interesting to people in general. But Tomcat is cool. I hope it comes out here. It only came out in the UK, but I play Tomcat, which is based on the old 60s cartoon. And he kind of talks like this. It's like, Tomcat, Benny, my boy. You know, it's like he has it was based on... initially based on comedians from the 60s. I guess it's Bill Silvers, but it was a very popular show then. The company produced it, and I ended up playing about half the roles. I did what they call the scratch track, which is you do, it's like a demo. Yeah. And they liked the demo so much that they asked me to play all these parts in it. And then since I was playing all these parts in it, they asked me to cast the rest of it, which I did. I got hired as the casting director, and I had auditions in L.A. and New York to get the other roles. And then I ended up, a friend of mine was going to end up being the voice director, and he ended up getting another job. So all of a sudden, I also became the voice director. Oh. So in this little movie, I did really well in the UK. I mean, it made a lot of money. You know, not that I... it's like, you know, not that I care about what everything, you know, some of the greatest things don't make any money. But this actually did really well. I mean, I remember seeing it come out in movie theaters in the UK, and it was like ahead of Men in Black 3 and Avengers. Oh. And I was like, whoa, Tomcat. That's big. Like, like number 4 in the UK, you know, in the United Kingdom box office, like in London. And I was just this was a year ago, I was doing radio interviews with all of the drive time stations in London and, you know, all over the UK. I would do interviews, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I was, again, a totally different experience. I had never voice directed an animated movie before. I had done a lot of voiceovers, but now, I mean, to play so many roles, I mean, literally, I think I ended up playing half of the parts. Yeah. And I didn't cast myself, believe me. I actually tried to talk them out of using me for certain parts. I was like, it's getting a little much.
Can I hear a voiceover from you in the movie?
Well, that's what, yeah, I played Tomcat. Yeah. I played Choo Choo. Choo Choo sort of talks like this. He's a little pink thing. I played Brain. Brain is sort of, you know, I play the villain, Strickland. He's sort of up here, kind of like Wallace Shawn. You know, he has like sort of a, you know. And I play, I don't know. There's a few other parts. I play the Maharaja Pikachu, who talks a little bit like this. And I bounce back and forth. And some of my friends, I got to cast some friends in it. Very talented actor named Bill Loveley plays Officer Dibble. Chris Edgerly, a very talented voice actor, plays Benny, who's the little fat sidekick. Benny sort of talks like this, you know, Benny, but Chris did it better. And we had a lot of fun. Yeah, we did. And then I hope that someday they actually give permission to release it here in the States, because, you know, again, it's a Warner Brothers property. You know, it's all corporate stuff. Warner Brothers owns it here in the States, and so they have to approve it, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's cute. I think voiceovers are fun, so that's why I wanted to hear it.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now I'm on a show on Nickelodeon, of all things. I'm on a little kids show on Nickelodeon called Umizoomi.
Okay.
Umizoomi is like an education show for little kids, and I play the villain. I play a character called Big Trouble.
Big Trouble.
And that's what I do. I cause trouble.
All right, Big Trouble.
Yeah, and I have a sidekick, Little Trouble, and then we're called the Troublemakers, and we make trouble.
Double trouble. That's where it is.
That's it, and that's it. Yeah, it's called Team Umizoomi.
All right.
That's for the little kids. Parents who watch it, who see this or hear this interview, can put that on for their little kids, and then they'll go, hey, that's the same guy who roasted double there. How about that?
Yeah. But you also work behind the scenes of the show Smash on NBC, right?
Well, I have a company company called the Looping Division. It's a loop group. And in fact, if anyone's interested, it's www.theloopingdivision.com. What I do is I cast voices for TV shows and movies, and I am one of the voices as well. And then I cast, I know so many voice actors in New York and Los Angeles, and I know so many people in all aspects of the business that, so for a show like Smash, they'll send me it, and I'll watch an episode, see what needs to be done vocally in the background, or if it's the other end of a phone call, or if it's announcements, or maybe there's a television show in the background, or a sporting event, and they need to have the play-by-play guy, and I will put a group together, and we will go into a studio, and we'll do all the voices all the way through the, through the episode. So right now I'm working on Smash. I'm working on that FX show called The Americans. It's a great show. That's a great show if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I watch FX too.
Oh, okay. I did the last Ice Age movie, Ice Age 4. And then a bunch of little movies like the one that just came out, Admission, I worked on with Tina Fey. And I do a lot of like TV and movies, and it's a fun gig. It can be pretty intense. These shows, they move very quickly. The demands are high, and and since I'm the coordinator, I have to do all the boring stuff too. I have to do I get everybody's contract ready. I do the research. When we're doing The Americans, we're playing FBI agents in 1981. So I have to come up with the research, the jargon, you can't say email because there was no email. It's 1981. So you have to remember and use phrases and things that were around at that time.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's another one of those jobs that's like, again, when you have a career in show business, so to speak, it's like, it's amazing all of the different things that you end up doing and you never thought you would do.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's great. But going back to Nick Studios, I think it was a special place for kids and adults just to have fun and see TV hosts and actors. I think that was great about it. Don't you think?
Yeah, but I guess that's any studio, really. I wish they would have more studios in New York. I know they have that massive facility in Brooklyn, Steiner, and then they have the MTV building. But it would be like, I wish they had a big, it would be cool if they had a big sound stage in Manhattan. Just like that people could kind of go and, I wish they would do something. Nickelodeon never really did major stuff out of New York either.
Yeah.
But Orlando is, I guess they probably did it. Not to be pessimistic, but they probably did it because it was cheaper.
Yeah,
New York is expensive.
Yeah.
And LA is not as expensive, but it's expensive. But Orlando was probably the cheapest place. I think it's also a right-to-work state, which means they didn't have to use union crew, I think. I'm not sure about that. But, so I think that had something to do with a lot of why they chose Orlando. Plus, it was also a destination spot for tourists and, vacationers, so that way they could have an audience of constantly changing people coming through.
Yeah.
So I think, and they didn't have the competition. Whereas if they did it in New York, they'd be competing with all the Broadway shows, all the, everything that New York has to offer.
Yeah.
So.
And would you like to see it reopen, Nick Studios?
Well, it's so funny because it's not, sure, but it's not really my, what I really like them to do is say, hey, let's do like a reunion show. That's what I'd like them to do. And call me up and say, hey, Jason, you want to host, we're going to do like 2 episodes of Double Dare 2013. And I'd be like, all right. And I'd even co-host it with Mark, and I think we would actually have a lot of fun goofing off of each other. Because Mark and I have remained, casual friends ever since. Like we chat occasionally. We've gone out to dinner a few times. Sometimes we Twitter back and forth a little bit. So but as far as if they reopen the studio, they'd have to actually do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they should have like local hosts from Florida. I don't know what I'm saying to host.
Well, I'm glad they didn't do that, because otherwise, had they done that, I guess I never would have been hired. They would have hired,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go against you on that one and say, oh no, they should hire this funny guy from New York who does voiceovers.
Or preserve the studio. I think that would be better, just as a museum.
Well, is it even up anymore? If it's not up,
Yeah. Blue Man Group hosts it now, I think.
Oh, Blue Man Group is actually in Orlando?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, they're there?
Yeah.
Wow. They're everywhere, Blue Man Group. Blue Man Group and Cirque du Soleil. That's everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, I see it all the time. But what do you think was the best thing about Nick Studios?
What was the best thing about? These are tough questions because you got to remember it was all a blur to me.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing about Nick Studios is that it's warm in January.
Warm in January.
I don't know. I don't know what to. It was a big space. It was a lot of fun. It was silly. You know what? I'll tell you what. Here's maybe a better answer. You felt like you were away. You felt like you were on vacation a little bit yourself because you were in this sort of like vacation theme park kind of. So if you like that kind of thing, and I happen to like it, you didn't. It took a little bit of like the pressure off of feeling you were in show business because you kind of felt you were away.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like for me, I was like away in Orlando, like on vacation, and I just happened to be hosting a show.
Yeah.
So I found that part to be fun.
Yeah.
So that I would say that would whereas if I hosted it in New York like I did for Metro Channel, that was more of a job. I had to go every day, trudge to take the subway, deal with the weather. It was more of a like I got to get to work and do my show.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando was like I flew to Orlando and I hung out, hosted a show, and had a good time for a few weeks.
Yeah, it all seems like a distant memory, really.
Yeah, it's strange. It was so fast and it was such a blur.
Mm-hmm.
I watched them. Occasionally someone will say something and then I'll like, or someone will want to see, someone will ask me about it. They won't know that I've done it, or they'll say, what is that show?
Yeah.
And I'll go on to YouTube and find a clip.
Yeah.
And it's like watching somebody else. It's just like it's just so funny to see that because it's not what I'm doing today.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget the prizes. They are very outdated. It's so crazy how technology from 10 years ago to now.
Yeah, I remember they made a huge deal about the high definition episodes, which I don't even know if they ever aired them or showed them. Or, but I remember they had this massive camera, and it was like, okay, we're doing shows in high definition. And no one even knew what that was.
Oh, my gosh, that's how ancient it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, they gave me copies of the show to look at. They gave them to me on VHS.
Yes. And
I have a video cassette. In fact, at one point, I transferred it all to digital, and I actually started giving away copies of my VHS tapes on Twitter.
Oh.
Yeah, I got all kinds of people responding to get a copy of. So I gave away quite a few tapes because I just didn't have the room for them.
Mhm. And people still want the Papa John's gift certificates. Don't forget that.
Or the prizes were a little the see-through television.
Mhm. And a trip to Islands of Adventure.
John's.
And a trip to Islands of Adventure when you were there, basically.
Oh, right. But there were a couple of good trips. I actually got to take a great trip. I got to do the Super Toy Run in Hawaii.
Wow, Super Toy Run.
Yeah. They did a contest where the winner got to run through a Toys R Us for he had like a minute or 5 minutes to grab as many toys as he could, and they had IMC'd it. So I went to Hawaii and stayed in this beautiful hotel, and that was probably the best part of the whole job.
Oh my God.
A week in Hawaii. Yeah. Shot for 1 day, and we were in Hawaii for a week. Nice. Very nice.
I need to go there. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, you do. It's nice.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's everything. I think that sums it up, Jason. So, but before I let you go, can you do one quick thing?
Sure.
All right. Can you say the ending, the classic spiel where you say Double Dare 2000 was recorded in front of a live studio audience in Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios, Florida? Can you say that?
Oh, you got it. Well, whoa, wait a minute. You have to assume I even remember that. Wait, all right, hang on. Let's see if I even remember that. Double Dare 2000 was shot in front of a live studio audience in Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios, Florida.
There it is.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was
Or Orlando, or Universal Studios, Orlando. I don't remember what we said.
Yeah, Universal Studios, Florida, basically.
Okay. And I had to watch my New Yorkie, and not get Florida.
I know.
It's Universal Studios, Florida. Whoa, Jason, stop that.
I know. Well, thank you, Jason, so much for doing the interview and being a part of this project. And so I hope everything's going well for you.
It is, and good luck with, I know you've interviewed a lot of the guys, a lot of the folks from Nickelodeon, so good luck with your project, and I hope it accomplishes what you want.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll see you around, babe.
You got it. Okay. All right, take care. Have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. Bye.